Hey guys, it's Sam, and today I want to do a video on sponsorships and ARCs and getting ARCs and what ARCs are and what sponsorship means and everything revolving around that general topic and our booktube community. The reason I wanted to discuss this is because our community is getting bigger, and with a bigger community you are having more sponsorships, ARCs, everything else pop up, and it seems to be a lot of confusion in the community for what that means and if sponsorships means getting product and everything else. There's just been a lot of confusion and a lot of misstatements being made that I've seen mostly on Twitter or in comments and stuff, and I just wanted to clear that up based on what I know and the research that I've done and the experience that I've had the last little over a year here on BookTube with these kind of things. When there is confusion like this, there seems to be a lot of kind of distrust, and that is never a good thing. I don't want anybody to have to distrust their favorite content creator, so I wanted to clear this up because this is kind of a sensitive subject with a lot of people, whether you are somebody that is accusing someone of not being honest, or whether you're somebody who is being accused, or whether you just see the general topic coming up in your community. It can just cause a lot of kind of uneasy feelings, and since it is a discussion kind of money, it is kind of a walk on eggshells conversation, but I think the more open and honest we are with it, the easier it is to kind of get used to it because it's not going to go away. It's something that has been prevalent in the book community in general. Sponsorships and ARCs have been in the book blogging community for a very, very long time. This is nothing new. This happens. And it's happened for a very long time. And then also within YouTube, this is a thing that happens in every other community. It happens in the gaming community and a lot in the beauty community, if you're familiar with the beauty community. So ultimately, I just want to kind of share the knowledge that I have. I'm not an expert in any way. I'm also very new to it. I didn't know anything about sponsorships or advanced reader copies or anything before joining YouTube, and I've only really recently kind of felt like I had a grasp on it, and even I might get stuff wrong. So if you have any other additional knowledge about it, if you are really up on like the FTC guidelines or anything like that, please comment down below and have a discussion. I'm really open to discussions with this because it is such a new thing to our community, and like I said, there's a lot of misinformation going around, so I am sharing the information that I know. Also, I am from the United States, so these are things that are relevant to the US. I'm not sure exactly how it works in other countries. So the first thing I want to discuss is sponsorships. A sponsorship is when a content creator is being paid in some way, usually to at least just mention something. Sponsorships never involve being paid to say something positive. If someone is being paid to say something positive when they actually think that the product is terrible, that is actually against FTC guidelines. You are not allowed to do that. So even with sponsorships and the exchange of money, people are still required to give their honest opinion. With a sponsorship, the creator is required to have a disclaimer in their video as well as in their description if they choose, but for sure in their video stating that this video was sponsored, they were paid, etc., etc. FTC mandates that you have to be very clear that there was some kind of money exchange involved. That will frequently be in the description, and it will give more detail as to this was an affiliated video, etc., etc. But oftentimes I've also noticed that the content creator will say at the beginning of the video that this video was sponsored by Penguin or HarperCollins or whatever kind of publishing house is sponsoring that video. As of the making of this video, I have never been sponsored for a video, so I do not have any kind of direct knowledge of that. I really can't provide any more information about it because I do not have any direct experience with it. But ultimately with this, you have to decide if you do trust sponsored video. Some people dislike any kind of sponsored video and do not trust people regardless if there is any kind of money exchange, and that is completely up to you. I personally decide who I'm going to trust based on that person and their past experiences and if I feel they are honest. If the sponsorship was very clear up front and it was told straight up and there was no kind of hiding about it, I'm much more likely to trust that person. I personally don't hate sponsored videos. I know a lot of people do. I personally don't. I, one, think good for that person for making some money off of their hobby. That is what everyone kind of wants to do, whether you're an artist or whether you make music or whether you blog or whether you make videos or whatever the case may be. Everyone wants to make money off of their hobby. So if somebody is making a little bit of money off of their hobby, I think that's great, number one. Number two, I can usually tell if someone is being dishonest. It's pretty easy for us to tell when someone is being shady. There is body language that is very easy to see, like, oh, maybe this person doesn't think as well of this product as they are putting out there. And again, it's up to you what you decide about sponsored videos and whether you decide to trust them or not, but they aren't going away anytime soon. I will say that I do believe that people think there are more sponsored videos on BookTube than there are. Like I said, it is required to have a disclaimer of some kind. So if you honestly feel like a booktuber is being sponsored and not saying something, comment on them and just ask, and don't go on Twitter and subtweet and say like, oh, I feel like there's sponsored videos all over BookTube, because honestly, I feel like there's not. I follow, I think, over 300 booktubers, and there's only a handful, maybe 5, that I can really think of having regularly sponsored videos, or sponsored videos in general. So I think a lot of people get sponsored videos mixed up with receiving ARCs. So ARCs are advanced reader copies, and they are a not completely edited version of a book that is released to reviewers and librarians and other people in the book industry to kind of get the word out, have people read them, and have hype kind of start going, have reviews start going, and everything else. So they are kind of the first wave of publicity for a book. And ARCs are given in exchange for an honest review. I have never been told by any publishing house that I have worked with to say a book is good. It's always, give us your honest opinion regardless. And I have. For those of you that are curious, here is a 1-star review that I gave to an ARC that I received. Here is a 2-star review that I gave to an ARC that I received. And here's a 5-star review for an ARC that I received. So I am just as honest with my ARC reviews as I am with the books that I buy. But again, it's completely up to you whether you want to trust somebody's review of an ARC. It is completely up to you. Again, it is just an unfinished manuscript. There is no kind of money exchanged with ARCs. They are not being paid or anything. People who receive ARCs, we are not being paid for our reviews in any way. And you cannot sell them or anything like that. I've done a video on this before, so I will link that on the screen about how you cannot sell ARCs, so there's no kind of way to get money or anything from ARCs. In fact, a lot of people, myself included, do ARC giveaways for when we are done with the ARCs, and we give them away to other people. So if anything, I think ARCs are a really awesome thing for the book community to have. So the biggest thing from this video that I want to put out there is that ARCs and sponsorships, not the same. So the other big question is, how do you receive ARCs? And this is really different for every publishing house. I'm still kind of learning. I honestly didn't start receiving ARCs regularly until I reached 10,000 subscribers. And that is different for everybody. I know in different countries it's a little easier for YouTubers to get ARCs. I'm not sure why that is, if they're just a little more open to it. But in the US, it's a lot harder for YouTubers to get ARCs. Again, it can look like everybody's receiving ARCs, but honestly, not the case whatsoever. And you do have to work and kind of build a relationship with the publishing house, so it's not as easy as it might look. In fact, the bookstagramming community and the blogging community have been receiving ARCs as well. The blogging community has been receiving ARCs for years, so they are much more familiar with the whole ARC thing. Again, ARCs have been around for a very long time. They go out to a lot of different people, not just bloggers or booktubers or bookstagrammers or anything like that. So ARCs are very common, and they've been around for a very, very long time, and they are very, very common in the blogging community especially. So as far as receiving ARCs, like I said, it is different for every publishing house, but I'm going to link some videos and some blog posts that I found super helpful, because honestly, those people say it way better than I do, and they have been doing it for a much longer time, and that is where I got a lot of help. So I will link those down below, but basically, you have to reach out to publishers and ask for these ARCs in order to just start getting them. They're not just going to send them to you, typically speaking, at all, and even if you are starting to get bigger or anything, they're not just going to send them to you out of the blue, generally speaking. So on a publisher's website, you can find their contact information. You just go to the website, and on the contact us page, there will be a section for to request review copies or media or something like that, and that is the email address that you use to contact the publisher about any kind of review copies. And in that email, you want to introduce yourself, say that you have a bookstagram or a blog or a YouTube channel, and this is its name, this is its link. And in that email, you also want to say what you regularly review. So if you're a big fan of maybe dystopian or sci-fi or something like that, just so they can kind of tailor their books to you and so they know kind of what you're requesting. It's just kind of making sure that the publisher knows a little bit about you. Also, you want to put some stats about your site in there. So your followers or your subscribers, how many hits you get on your blog if you have a blog, generally how many hits you get per day, how many followers you have on like Twitter or Instagram or whatever different social media, Goodreads. You just want to do that. Also, I like to put in there a book that I have reviewed from their publishing house. I'll say, hey, I also happen to review this book and really enjoyed it, and show them their review, so again, they know that you enjoy the things that they publish. Tailor it to you and tailor it to the book that you're asking for. Make sure that the publisher doesn't just think that you copy and paste this to a bunch of people, and make sure that it's kind of a little bit personalized. Again, you want to keep it short and to the point because the publishers don't have a lot of time to sift through a long email, so you really just do want the basics in there, but make sure it is tailored to the specific book or the specific publisher or whatever, so that they know that you aren't just mass emailing a ton of publishers. And honestly, like I said, I just recently started receiving ARCs on a regular basis when I do request them, but I still don't receive every arc that I request, and a lot of times publishers will not even respond to you. So don't get discouraged. I used to send out emails, and just occasionally whenever I wanted to maybe possibly read a book early, I would send out an email for that book, and most times you're not going to get a response. They're not going to say anything to you. A lot of times if you are going to receive the book, they'll say, hey, we'll put you on the list, thanks for contacting us, whatever, but a lot of times you won't really know. You just kind of send it out into the void and hope for the best. Also, for me personally, if I receive an arc, I will mention it in the video that this arc was received from such and such publishing house, and I will also put it down in my disclaimer, and in my disclaimer I will specifically say if the arc was solicited or unsolicited. A solicited arc is when you specifically ask for a book. So for example, I recently requested What We Left Behind by Robin Talley. The majority of the arcs that I personally receive are books that I requested. I don't really like receiving unsolicited arcs because they just kind of pile up because I'm not exactly sure I'm going to get to them. They are lower on my priority list because I didn't personally request them. So again, that might be something that you want to keep in mind too as far as trusting people. Maybe you'll decide that you just want to hear about the books that people actually asked for because they're books that they would read regardless. Like if I ask for a arc, it's still a book that I'm gonna go out and buy when it comes out, or that I would buy if I didn't receive the arc or something like that. Then there are unsolicited arcs, and those are books that publishers just send out without you requesting them or anything. They are books that they feel that maybe you would enjoy. So again, when you write those emails and say, hey, I typically review these kinds of books, those are books that publishers are like, hey, maybe you haven't heard of this and maybe you'll enjoy it. An arc that I received unsolicited was Cut Both Ways by Carrie Mastrobian, but this came with some other LGBTQ plus reads that I had requested, so it was a good unsolicited book because it was a book that I was interested in reading. And I will always say whether a book was requested by me or whether I received it unsolicited in my description if you're interested. There are other ways to get arcs. There are giveaways on Goodreads for books that are not yet released. BEA and some other kind of events sometimes will have art giveaways. BEA definitely has art giveaways, but I'm not sure about every single book event, but I think ALA has art giveaways and stuff like that too, so those are ways to get books, but again, you have to be a industry person for that, so you have to have a blog or a booktube or a bookstagram or whatever, but those are ways that you can get arcs as well. Then there are sites like NetGalley and Edelweiss. I am not familiar with these because I do not have a Kindle or anything, and I just don't like having ebooks because I already have enough physical books, and if I start on the ebook train, it's just gonna get out of control. So I personally do not use those, but those are easier to get arcs because again, a publisher doesn't really have to do much or like send anything out to you in physical form, so they can just send you the digital copy. It's a lot easier to get those, so you can sign up on those sites and you can do reviews and stuff like that, and those are ways to get arcs as well. Also, as I mentioned before, a lot of people that receive arcs will do art giveaways for the arcs that they've either already read or are not interested in, so those frequently happen either on the blogs or on Twitter. So again, keep your eye out for those. Those usually go around on a regular basis, and you can usually find some arcs that you might be interested in. And I think that's it as far as arcs, but comment down below if you can think of some things that I left out as far as how to get arcs, but those are the different methods that I can think of personally right now. So lastly, all of this, like I said throughout the video, boils down to you deciding who you trust and whose reviews you trust and who you feel is honest. I have different people from different communities that I trust as far as beauty gurus, as far as booktubers, and those people can do any kind of video and I'm gonna trust them. They can have a sponsored video and be paid $1 million for reviewing a book, which again would never happen, but they can be paid a ton of money. I'd be like, I still trust your opinion. So honestly, you just have to decide, am I going to trust this person or not, whether they are sponsored or not, or whether they get arcs or not, or whatever. And it's all up to you and your different guidelines. Everybody has a different set of guidelines on what they feel is trustworthy or not, so it is completely up to you what you decide you want to trust from people. But ultimately, arcs and sponsorships and stuff like that is not going to go away. Industries have discovered social media and they know that it is a promotional tool, and there's going to be different ways of developing that over the years and the different ways that content creators are going to partner with different kinds of companies and stuff like that. So again, this isn't going to go away. It's prevalent through every different kind of community on the internet. Like I said, gaming, beauty gurus, booktube, whatever. So it's not going to go away. So it's ultimately just you deciding what you feel you can trust and who you feel you can trust. So I hope I covered everything. I am very willing to do a follow-up video to this if you guys have any kind of questions or anything. So comment them below and discuss questions, anything. I will try to answer anything as best that I can. Again, like I said, I'm new to this too. I'm always constantly learning. But if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below and ask me, and I'll try to answer those as best that I can. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!